Hello, hi.
Hi Rohit.
Hi,
Hi
Manoj. Hi,
Sarvanan.
guys.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Kurian, we've lost him. However, he was giving us context to what we are going to do this afternoon. So everyone of us knows that the globe has gone into a downslide. Okay, it's impacted. However, we are here as representatives of the hospitality industry at large to look at any thoughts that can come in this discussion that can alleviate or sustain the industry both short term and long term, right? We've got key objectives which I can run through briefly. Okay, the objectives are sustainability of the hospitality industry due to obviously this global lockdown, both short-term sustainability, and you can interpret sustainability from the organization's perspective, from the individual's perspective, government's perspective, from the different agencies that's for the hospitality industry, both short-term and long-term. Collaboration in the future to ensure that the industry can bounce back sooner rather than later. And of course, Ged was talking about Europe at writing off 2020 and probably looking at Q2 in 2021. So that's a different perspective. However, do you think collaboration, and what the collaboration that the industry is looking at, both within and from other industries? Do you think that we can also talk about developing future skills or skill sets in the hospitality industry? Well, this is downtime now. Could there be a development of skill sets to cope with challenges both in the short term and the long term? Understand the strengths of our industry and how can these strengths played to counter the challenges that are definitely going to face. And last but not least, can the industry address the possible fear process of lifting the lockout? However, the other countries, including India, where we are based, we are still at the onset of the climb. For numbers, we are looking at the numbers. So broadly speaking, these are the core objectives for our session. The session is going to last for 1 hour. We have sent you some do's and don'ts or guidelines, and I can see a lot of you have muted your microphones. It would be advisable to mute, and remember to unmute when you want to comment. The way that we are this is a Q&A session rather than a debate, so there's no going to for and against. We have a preset list of questions. I will pose the question as your moderator, and each participant would have 2 minutes to respond. So I would like you to listen to the question, understand, focus on the question, your response. And of course, because we have so many panel members, we'd love to hear you speak. It's not necessary that every one of the questions has to be responded by all the panel members. If you think you have something that you'd like to say, please give me a show of your hand so that I can see it. And then I will use your name to ask you to respond. We would have some questions that could come up from the flow of conversation, right? So try to make it brief and to the point. Okay, it's not a debate. It's not about who is right. It's not about who is wrong. Okay, it's just us sharing opinions given this opportunity by in School of Hospitality and Culinary Studies. So friends, can we kickstart our session? Just give me a show of hands if you're ready to go. I'll kickstart by the first question. Fantastic. I can see your show of hands. I have someone in the waiting room, 4 people in the waiting room. So let me get them into our session. We don't need to introduce ourselves because that will take quite a lot of time. But as we go along, if you want to, give your name, when you respond for the first time, that would be nice. Okay, so here goes, guys. The first question is obviously related to the values that the hospitality industry is. So the first question, what are 2 or 3 of the demonstrated values of the hospitality industry at large, and why are these values important in this crisis? Right. So I'd like to throw this question to Dr. Peter Jones to kickstart our discussion. So Peter, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. As you mentioned at the beginning, part of the discussion was around an article that I'd written about core values. Mm-hmm. And I feel that one of the things that's beginning to emerge, and those companies that will be more sustainable in the long term, are those that are demonstrating the core values of hospitality as we understand them now. And that is to be hospitable, to be welcoming, and to be caring. And those 3 values, I think, are the ones which actually will help to sustain the hospitality businesses, actually, as we begin to emerge through the crisis. We're beginning to see it in interesting ways, in the way that many companies are being much more altruistic rather than being purely hard-nosed commercial. And those, I believe, will benefit in terms of reputation as we actually emerge out of this at the other end.
Dr. Peter, you mentioned 3 things: be hospitable, caring, and welcoming. Right?
Yes.
I would like to ask Ship to talk about any one of those values that the hospitality industry can demonstrate during this crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Varghese. Hello all, my name is Shipra, and I completely agree with Dr. Peter Jones. I was actually making my notes for this session, and caring is one of the values which I was thinking. Why specifically? Because it's so important for the hospitality industry to be relevant today, so that there is a recall factor, so that they're able to rejuvenate. So I take these 3 R's related to caring, because if they do activities right now which are relevant in the current scenario, also establishing the relevance for future, it will help them to have recall factor with the guests in future as well as now, because it's just not about the COVID messages and saying that we are there with you. It's also about showing what is relevant, which they're doing right now. And this relevant activities are coming in the form of the caring nature of hospitality industry, because we're not selling technology, we're not selling any product right now. So the caring related activities, which when shown through the use of technology, shows the relevance, and this will help them to rejuvenate after this entire crisis is over. So I think that's a very well said point, that we need to be what caring we are as a hospitality industry and keep that relevance going on, because right now that's all we can do, and everybody's trying to connect to everybody, so they need to keep the caring aspect of relevance going on through the use of technology. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shipra, for those words. You talked about being relevant. I'd like to go to Dr. Kandapan, and can you continue with the one of the other values, if you'd like to, which is...
I just would like to continue on care. Welcoming and care. I do prepare some notes for today's session, like how the care can be done for the future workforce. I think it's a time for care. I think time to care. Some points in a very short manner, I will go very precise. Increase the organizational resilience and transform the workforce to remain fit for the future, and prepare your organization to engage with the technology, and preparedness of your staff to use new technology so that they move from the comfort zone to the learning zone, and ensure not only the customer well-being and also the staff well-being. So we need the human workforce to deliver our core values and develop strong leadership to create culture of collaboration and transparency, and create increased enrichment and augmented roles. And
Dr. Kandapan?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We lost you for a moment.
Yeah. Try to develop and adapt new model of care. That's what we need now. So I think this is the time when we want to talk about care, welcoming, be hospitality. I think it is not only for customer point of view, we must also take care of our staff. So that is my point.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Dr. Kandapan. We have Shanoli. Shanoli, Dr. Kandapan talked to us, develop a new model of caring. Okay, let me actually add a little bit. Today, the industry is obviously going through a huge amount of monetary loss, economic loss. There's over 1,000 crores of potential loss in the month of March, the first quarter, right, from India alone. And billions of dollars, obviously, every one of us know that. So what do you think could be a new model of caring, having the industry going through a very bad, and we do not know for how long this is going to go on. It is a commercial endeavor that all of us are involved in. While caring is one of the core values of the hospitality industry, what kind of new model would you suggest that the industry embarks or, kind of looks at? Shanoli?
Right. So good afternoon, everyone. So one of the few things that really matter at this point of time is to focus on building trust back, and to get that trust back both from our customer segment as well as from our employee segment, right? That is what we need to focus on. Now, with trust, trust cannot come with just the branding, just the the videos that we show and things like that. Trust has to come with what we do, and that's where take care comes in, caring comes in, and in this new age with care comes caring is not just about doing things for your team. Mm-hmm. It's also about truly going beyond, and as simple things as connecting to your team, to being able to make a phone call wherever they are. They might be in a remote village in Uttar Pradesh, but knowing what's happening with you, how are you doing, what are you doing, is everything safe around you, do you need any support, and don't worry, simple acts like this. So from the HR community at Marriott, this is what we are doing. We're reaching out to our teams. We're looking at ways to engage in a virtual world, and not because we're physically not around. So we're looking at activities that we can do for our team right now on mental strength, because that is very important. We're urging our teams to look after themselves, to look at self-care, and thereby the message that we want to send out is that what we do for our teams also is what we do for our guests. So we're also trying to reach out to our guests and tell them that, as and when you are ready to come back, we're there, and we're there with the same and more renewed trust than before.
Thanks, Shanoli. Very well said. Marriott is doing something great for their staff, like they are treating their guests, demonstrating care. However, there's one article I read about Chef Gordon Ramsay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know whether it's true or not, but okay, he sacked 100 people from his various restaurants. Would you say that's a great demonstration of caring? While he's a fantastic chef and a great hotelier, would you say, Shonali, that's a demonstration of the value of the hospitality industry at this point in time?
Mr. Varghese, these are tough times. Yeah, these are tough times for all. So while within intrinsically, none of us want these harsh things to happen. But at the end of the day, most of us are hospitality or brand operators who are really not owning the business, right? And at times, to stay afloat, you have to take some very stringent measures. And I'm sure these measures are not the first choice. I'm sure as and when there are furloughs, it really hurts the heart of the organization, and it's definitely not a first choice anyway. But if certain things have to be done to stay afloat, then we must welcome that decision and say that whoever the person is or the organization is, to stay afloat, if that's what we need to do, then we need to do it.
So what I hear you say, there must be a balance between practicality as well as how you deal with someone who's going through a hard time.
Right.
Okay, good. I think we've run through this first question, which is pretty good. I have a second question. Okay, money alone will not be able to fix this downturn while we are asking the government to help the hospitality industry with various financial mechanisms. Okay, apart from money, what is in the control of the hospitality industry that can be leveraged to work towards addressing some of the hospitality specific issues in the short term first and then in the long term? I'd like to throw that question at the at this time to Ged. If I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
It's Jed, but it's
Jed,
good effort. Not at all.
Jed, yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanks. That's a tough question, isn't it?
Because I know it's tough, but we want some answers to tough questions.
But you're right. Look, money. Money is something that we're not going to be able to rely on because every government in the world right now is under pressure from every industry. So we are all in the hospitality industry and the travel industry, and we understand the importance of that. But unfortunately, there are so many other industries that are equally deserving of the government's money. So you're absolutely right. We can't rely on money. I think what we do need to start looking at hard is what we have got. So when I look at the travel industry in the UK, a lot of people have been furloughed, as Shanoli was saying. A lot of people have been laid off. What we've got an abundance of right now is time. So I've got, from a personal point of view, I've got time, I've got contacts, I've generated goodwill over the years. I can use that as a currency because maybe you as a partner have got a network that I haven't got. So we can do a direct exchange. Doesn't need to be money taking that exchange. It can be an exchange of service. It can be an exchange of knowledge. I might need help with a website. I can go to somebody who can offer that help. But in exchange, I can give them some expertise on social media and podcasting, for example. We've all got skills and networks that we can exchange. And I think that's where we need to key into the supposed sharing economy. Use the currency that we have got. We haven't got cash. We have got skills. We've got networks. We've got experience, and we've got time. That's what we should be doing, I think, instead of money.
Okay, thanks, Jed. So you talked about a different currency, not the money. Very interesting. So leading to collaboration. So I'd like to throw it over to Manoj. Would you like to add anything to what Jed was talking to us? Any collaboration globally or nationally with the different sectors of the industry?
I think it's time to go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
Because this is something which nobody had planned and nobody had seen, the humongous devastation. The only thing that will help sustain at this moment of time is to be adaptive and reflective. When I say reflective, because you need to look at your service design, you have to be innovative. When you talk of care and concern, it is not only for your guests, but also to the people who gave this service to your guests. And how do you retain your talent? What are those pressures? So I think the government is grappling with numerous other industries, not only tourism. Government has got a whole lot of areas where they have firefighting. So I think it's unrealistic to look at government at the moment. First thing first is we need to make sure that we are relevant in our own companies. That's number one priority. And the collaborative approach. I used to work for the Taj, and we have about 8 hotels in Bangalore. And recently in a vicinity.
What time you want to watch Money Heist? Are you done with episode 2?
So we had to shut down one hotel which was in the close proximity.
Why don't you finish 2 and then give me a call to watch 3?
Sorry,
for what time?
Somebody's not muting.
Put off the phone.
9? What?
I'm sorry, I'm getting a voice. I don't know whose voice.
What game? Oh my god.
Is there
all
anyone
right, so
we're getting a throwback from voice?
I think it's Pete Tandon.
Pete Tandon is
Pete Tandon, yes.
All right, so
okay, I'm sorry.
coming
Go
back,
ahead. Sorry,
it's a
Manoj.
collaborative approach, redesigning all your entire service. These are some of the things that I think is very pressing. The government will, of course, support, but that is much later.
Good. Thanks very much, Manoj. I'd like to bring in Rohit over here. Rohit, collaboration is what Manoj was talking about. Adaptive and reflective and retain talent. So question is, this is downtime now for every industry, including ours. This industry has possibly had the least amount of downtime because we are 24/7 industry, at least the operational industry. So what do you think the industry could do to utilize this downtime?
See, one of the things, yeah, am I audible?
Yes, Rohit, go ahead.
Yeah. See, one of the things what as industry can be done is, of course, you don't expect much of financial support from the government.
Okay.
But the government, the state tourism departments do have a lot of schemes where they subsidize your marketing effort in the coming season, especially after the lockdown is lifted. But what I see with respect to the lockdown, so I don't see much of travel happening.
Okay.
Hotels in cities, I think, are going to be primarily affected much more than leisure properties. Cities will have a big city hotels. I think a big part to play in how to get people coming in to your hotels, and hotels with the cash crunch. What do you have? How do you make best use of what your networking skills, getting PR, getting your events into the hotels in context like in India. It's much better if hotels go in to diversify the segments. If you look at Bangalore, where I'm based, 80 to 90% of the business is corporate, and with especially in Bangalore, with 70% of the business coming from the IT sector, it's a big fall down because the Indian IT industry relies quite a bit on the US financial markets. The insurance, finance, mortgages, your loans, the banking sector. That I think is not going to come back for at least another couple of years.
Rohit, that's point taken. Okay, point taken. Okay, can I ask Peter to come in? What do you think we can do with the downtime that the industry at large has?
Right, I'll try and answer that one very quickly, and then I'd just like to make an observation, if I may. As far as the downtime is concerned, I think it's about consolidation, but it's also about a wider integration. It's actually about looking at where you can actually develop, as somebody's already said. You're looking at being adaptive, you're looking at being creative, because you're going to have to develop two things. I think you're going to have to develop a new experiential service model, because people are going to be looking for something rather different from the previous experiences that we used to provide. And I think you're also going to have to look from a business perspective, actually at creating different and new business models, because the current business model is fractured. It's fractured across the world, and we've got to think differently about how we actually move those business models forward. Some of the complexities of the current business models with ownership, franchises, contracts, and so on are very difficult to manage under these sets of circumstances. And if I was to be making a prediction, I'd be saying that the small single owner operator is in a much, much stronger position of coming forward than some of the big corporates. And in commenting on whether you were in a corporate market, I think that corporate market will take a long, long time to recover, because they've learned to use different and new ways of working already. And there's going to be a huge issue about confidence in travel. And unless people have confidence to travel, they're not going to travel. So if you were a big organization based on that corporate travel market, I would suggest that your market is going to take a long, long time to recover.
All right. Yeah. Point taken. You wanted to make an observation.
Well, it's just the observation is that, and perhaps it's for another discussion at another time. If you think about how we got into this position, in terms of the general global economy, things were moving in a particular direction. And we always looked at growth in terms of growth in our businesses and so on. We all of a sudden had a major downturn in that. And that wasn't the fault of the economy, it's a health issue. So what we've got is we've got lots of assets that are going to be sitting there, essentially either mothballed or redundant. Now, those assets are still going to be there. They were valuable assets. What I'd be suggesting now is that those assets don't have anything like the value that they had a month ago. And they're not going to have a value for some considerable time. Therefore, should we not be thinking differently with the owners of those assets as to how those assets are being utilized?
Okay, good point, Peter. We've got possibly a lot of assets that could be sitting doing nothing. Okay, and the business model definitely is fractured. So Shipra would like to take on that. What advice would you give to the owners of these assets? Shipra, I saw your hand up.
Yes, actually, the point which I wanted to address was in the question on how can industry utilize the downtime. Apart from the and I will also add up the point raised by Mr. Peter Jones on the assets. So while when I speak to the counterparts, general managers of different hotels and the management leaders, though at one time they are focusing on what to do with the current assets, how to save on losses, how to make sure that whatever we have doesn't go waste, to cleaning and all those stuff to keep things going at one end. The other end is what are we feeding the mind of our teams right now? Because when we come back from this crisis, the most important thing leaders would need is their teams not to come back and talk about what all happened, but to be future ready. And for that, the best way I feel to utilize this downtime is to throw a challenge to the teams. How can they can upskill themselves so that it is also an engaging activity with the team members, and also when they come back.
Shipra, can I interrupt
you? Yes,
you?
yes.
If you can just throw 1 or 2 points on upskilling, because using downtime.
Yes. So when I say upskilling, there are a lot of times that there are certain skill sets that the team members need for them to grow. And they're always talking about when will I take my next level or when I will do new things. This is the right time to throw a challenge to them for growing, coming back with ideas to learn certain skills. So for example, it could be soft skills, management skills, leadership qualities, or training themselves on emotional intelligence. And what will happen is this will activate their brain to give ideas instead of then focusing on what's happening all around. And when they come back,
you're talking about future proofing.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
All right.
That's the best time to use this because empty mind is a devil's workshop and they're all sitting at home waiting for the hotel to open.
We've got lots of empty minds sitting at home.
Yes, that's right. So why don't we, and that's also engaging activities for them. It will engage them for a reason which will help us in future.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. Dr. Kandapan would like to share his thoughts
I just
on
would like to
what we're going to do with the assets, or is it a downtime?
Yeah, I just would like to connect Sipra's and Dr. Manoj and Dr. Peters in terms of collaboration. So I think the collaboration here is to meet the innovation. So we must create a model to enter a new market and to prevent the new competition. So I'm just giving some example. I had a conversation with one of the GM, Christina from Grand Dorset Hotel. She also okayed to share what we discussed. She cannot make a presence today. So I think the hotel can look at this juncture, looking at the big giants example like AirAsia, moving from the airlines to the grocery delivery service, looking we can see the transformation happen in the business model. So the hotel industry, from the hotel dining, we have to move to dining creation. So that can be done by collaborating with the online, like for example, like taxi operators, like Ola, Grab. The rotation cost can be covered. So that's a one model, which I can say transdisciplinary collaboration, working with hotel and transport industry, so that we both win-win scenario. So another example, another example I would like to quote. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So since the hotel, we always thinking, I'm talking on the positive aspect, and
right.
the business is not there, the restaurant is not doing well, but we need to understand we have the space, which is the investment already, the chiller, the storage. Why not we work with the commodity suppliers and also the non-government organization can have then probably we can that can even maybe at the end of the year it can benefit the industry to show in the dilution of the tax relaxations. And as Chipra was mentioning,
yeah,
is it clear?
You're breaking for a little while, but continue.
Yeah, so I was talking about the CSR project can be done with the supplier, with the hotels and the transport companies so that they can use our space. We have manpower, we can help them to create products. So I think we need to think on a very holistic approach to invest ourselves in the CSR so that it can benefit the industry, even the owners of the hotels, when they come to the end of the year for the taxation benefits. And in just a last point connecting Chipra, in terms of online training, I totally agree. This is the time we upsell or upskill our employees for the future skill development. That's what we need to do now.
Thanks. Just a question. Thank you, Dr. Kandapan. How many of us are using Zoom for pretty much the first time? If you can show a hand, means the first that we are using this tool. Can I see a show of hands? How many people are using Zoom for pretty much the first time? Right. So I can see at least 3/4 of the hands up. So don't you think what Shipra said and Dr. said, this is a forced learning for us because we have to use this tool. We have forced ourselves to become comfortable with using this tool. So sometimes probably the hospitality industry sometimes needs a little push. And this is where colleges like IIMS could come in. Okay. So Manoj would like to add something. Manoj, go right ahead, Manoj.
A lot of myths have been busted.
Okay.
One of the myths is that you need to be sitting together in one office and meeting.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't believe that this is my first month with my new organization.
Right.
And my induction is happening through Zoom.
Zoom, absolutely.
So
fantastic.
which was not thought of. Now,
absolutely.
No, this is what I said that we need to go back to the drawing board. We keep saying that is, we now need to cut off all the fat and go to the bare essentials, which will impact us and make a difference.
Manoj, are you from the kitchen? Because you're using.
Well, I'm now the chef at home. I'm now the chef at home, so I guess those words are naturally coming to me.
Naturally, absolutely.
Brilliant. So we now
also said
we
there's
now
a fracture.
look at the.
We have a fractured business, and so you said we need to go back to the drawing board.
And we need to go back and see what are those things which will impact us and which give us short-term gains immediately. Stick to those basics and then work on. Also, now is the time when you can see how adaptable your team is. Who are those guys who have skills that you know of, which you can now capitalize? So I think this is also a time of reflection. I said, I'm coming. Somebody is conspiring against me every time I talk.
Yeah, no, phones in the background. No one's conspiring against you. It's just that someone's phone probably rang.
So I think it is also a time to look at your own team and seeing who are those guys who have got talents which you never knew about it. So this is also a great time to interact with your own team and understand your strengths and build on that.
All right. Thanks very much. Thanks, Manoj. Saurabh would like to comment. Saurabh, you'd like to talk about the utility of downtime, but maybe you can comment about Peter's observation. There's going to be a lot of properties, a lot of things in mothballs. Okay, can we help owners think of a newer business model?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's a great privilege for me to be a part of this discussion. Yes, I was going through all the points that people, respected eminent people, have said. And yes, whatever assets, as you said, non-performing assets which are not being used, they should definitely come up with some plans. So the need right now is also what I will say that the hotel industry right now needs to initiate a lot of collaborations, right? They need to work on with collaborating with different, maybe at international level they can have some tie up, but right now the scenario is very difficult to go for collaboration, but still they should chalk out some plan. At national level also they should try to come up with the collaboration as social entrepreneurs, I'll suggest, and entrepreneurs also. Social entrepreneurs in particular, somebody just was mentioning about commodity suppliers and NGOs. So social entrepreneurs are people actually who are not getting enough funds and all. So here I think hotel industry can pitch in and they can be a part of it. And
Okay, great.
very just
Sorry.
2-3 yeah.
Go ahead.
Just 2-3 hours back I was reading, so it is like GDP will fall below 3% and all that we have to take care of, and there's a potential loss of about 38 million that is going to happen because of this lockdown. So
Sure.
definitely we need to initiate more collaboration, learning, innovation, adaptability, and just you discuss about Zoom as well. So definitely I'm also using Zoom for the first time, and students are also very much interested in the classes because my interesting observation is that they have some extra minutes before they join the class. So what happens, they leave their home and they travel 1 hour or 1.5 hours and they join the class. So that is what this generation feels more tiring. Here it is just they get up from the bed and just 5-10 minutes they take to groom up and then they are ready for the classes. So of course things are happening. Demonetization, Paytm saw so much of lead. Now in this corona we are seeing applications like Zoom getting so much of lead. So this is where hotel industry needs to think that which are the business which may prosper in this particular time, and then they need to initiate collaboration with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Saurabh. I'm going to
My
turn it
pleasure.
over to Bhaskar. Bhaskar, the question, you are, Bhaskar Sailesh, you are a hospitality educator. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what the role of hospitality educators will play during the coronavirus downtime, post the coronavirus being lifted? What is the role of hospitality educators?
See, in addition to what everyone has already mentioned here, first of all, I was surprised that there's hardly any talk about what customers' perceptions are. Like, definitely, customers' perception about traveling and looking, the way they look towards the hospitality industry is going to change once things start get normal. So, as hospitality educators, we would prefer to train our student to understand what the customer wants from now on. For example, customers, if they are going to a particular city or a country, especially in Europe, they would want to know that, is my hotel disaster proof? Am I going to be safe inside the hotel if there is another outbreak such as corona itself? So that is one area where hospitality educators need to put their focus on. Apart from that, Manoj sir, you had a point.
Okay, you'd like to bring Manoj in? Manoj, continue.
So Shailesh, please go ahead.
Yes.
I'll after you finish, I'll.
Okay.
Shailesh, are you complete or you'd like to continue?
Now, being in the hospital, I'm also a tourism faculty. So both hospitality and tourism, we need to train both tourism students as well in similar lines. How can you make the consumer feel safe that come to our country, and yes, we are well prepared with facing all these types of natural incidents and natural disasters. So this is something as hospitality educators we need to train our students to adapt to. Mainly thinking in what the customer is expecting and then fulfilling those expectations.
Thanks very much, Bhaskar. Manoj, you wanted to comment. What could be the changes that we can offer to our customers post the downtime?
Yeah,
if the business model has been fractured, in your opinion, what could be the changes from the customer?
So hygiene cannot be a fad or a fancy anymore. It has to be a way of life.
Okay.
Because people have now realized, if you look at Japan, actually, Japan is a great model to look at. They also had coronavirus, but you look at the fatality rates. So they're not people, because culturally they wear their mask, they keep a social distancing. So people started realizing the importance of these activities, especially when you are in groups. Now, for India, it's a difficult task because culturally we don't believe in social distancing even while we are sleeping. So I guess there's a problem we face in India, and also that our population is such that it's difficult to manage. But I think hotels will now have to consciously show visible signs of hygiene, because people would expect that to be the way for them to feel secure in a location. That is one aspect. The other aspect is the offerings that you need to provide to a guest sitting in the same hotel, and making him feel that he does not have to travel and he still can conduct his business. So ease of doing business is one area where we'll have to focus much more critically. These are my points.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much, Manoj. I can see Jed's hands. I can see Dr. Kandapan. Dr. Kandapan, come in, and then I'll come to you, Jed. Can you unmute, Dr. Kandapan? Can you unmute? Yeah.
Yes, I quickly
yeah, go
cover,
ahead, Dr. Kandapan.
Quickly cover on how we can create an experience for the people in the future. Yes, of course, hygiene and sanitation is going to be the key focus of the guest in the future. So gamification or augmented reality or virtual reality programs currently, they can engage the staff now to create and reach the customer how safety their hotel is. So we can give a virtual experience to the consumer to inspire them to come to your hotel.
Okay, so you're talking about virtual experience for the customer. Right, that's a good
future.
point, because
now
we are moving.
Sorry, they can create how safety the hotel through a virtual experience, so that the people are ready to come to their hotel in the future.
Okay, good point. Jed, over to you.
Just a couple of points that I just wanted to follow up on. Sure. With regards to the hygiene, I think it's been mentioned a couple of times. Obviously, it's absolutely essential. In order for us to gain the trust of customers in the future, the hygiene has to be there. The standards have to be implemented. But just the further point on that is, you have to be able to demonstrate that. You have to communicate that. That's the essential part of this.
Right.
It's
now
not.
Mute, no?
It's not enough just to do it. You have to communicate it, and you have to be very proactive on that communication,
okay.
and make sure it goes out
see, on my
widely.
screen, PK Mohankumar, there are things like stop video and rename.
Is there anyone? There's a background.
Somebody's speaking in the background there. Sorry, the other point on the other point on the hygiene is about payments.
Shall I say exit screen? No.
Sorry, it's the PK Mahumakar. I think needs to be muted.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's about payments.
No, I can see all the gallery. I'm actually on a gallery right
now. Right.
Actually, as a host, you can also unmute.
Yeah. The host should be able to mute him. There we go. He's muted now. Sorry. On the other part about hygiene was about taking payments. A lot of talk about this in Europe at the moment, about how we're having to change payments. Everyone's moving, obviously, very rapidly to this. This has got potentially very big implications for India, where cash is king. Where cash is, it's unhygienic, and I think any organizations that haven't really very closely and with some urgency looked at this, you're going to have to look at changing payments rapidly, and we're going to have to move to contactless. If we look at in China, they have WeChat and the payment method on WeChat, where you hold up a QR code, which allows you to keep quite a distance. I think that's what we're going to see, a lot more of around the world. And again, I think the smaller businesses and organizations are really going to have to look to embrace that. So again, using this downtime, I think we need to train up and upskill on things like payments as well and get ourselves very well versed on that.
Yeah, so get from what I understand, you said from the hygiene factor, India, cash is king. So technical education, utility of new tools, okay, new payment methodologies, contactless payments could be a combination of utilizing our downtime plus, okay,
exactly.
The hygiene factor will be addressed.
Exactly that.
Okay, good. So guys, before
I'd
like to throw in one more question, because we've had some discussions on hygiene. We've talked about utility of the downtime. The core hotel sector and the travel sector are known to be interdependent. That goes without saying. However, once recovery happens across, what strategies could you suggest that both the sectors, hospitality, travel, and government agencies take to ensure that people start traveling quicker rather than later and with less fear in their minds? Okay, so yeah,
one line I
sure.
wanted to add on this. It was going on, and you have rightly just put it across. So
okay,
you see how events bring about a paradigm shift in the choice of words that we are using. So till now, if we talk of hotel industry or transport industry, let us say, they were saying that we are okay, clean, we are hygiene. But now only being clean and hygiene is not going to matter. A new word has come. In fact, already it exists. But now the focus will be on telling that we are sanitized. So it is not about clean and hygiene. You have to focus upon sanitization. That will make people realize that, okay, sanitization means whatever the dreadful thing corona is right now, sanitization is the only option to prevent ourselves. So I think this is what can be done. One has to focus on such issues and identify things, how they can.
Adding to Saurabh sir's point. Adding to his point, one thing that we can look into is certification. See, earlier we had hotels which didn't bother about the environment and all, but now we have hotels who are having environment friendly or eco friendly certifications. Similar certifications can be brought about when it comes to infectious diseases, how safe a hotel is, right? And this certification can be used for marketing purposes as well. And that is something that can actually attract customers and thereby increasing the occupancy in hotels. Now, along with that, there's another question or another challenge which I just came to my mind. So I want to ask everyone here. Now, now also we are discussing on the Zoom platform. Now, even other businesses, they have realized that board meetings and other mega scale meetings can be conducted in platforms like these. That will bring about a decrease in business travel. So how do we come up with new strategies to increase that as well? Like maybe we can have a discussion on that as well. Along with this,
I think that's an important point, but probably a discussion for another day, because that's a whole new ball game together. But interesting that you brought that up. So, from my understanding, that technology is definitely going to change the way we function. The hospital industry is going to have to accept that there is a new model that has to be created, evolved. Okay. However, travel and tourism or hospitality are interlinked. How is it government agencies, or what can you suggest government agencies, travel and tourism, hospitality industry can send the message to its traveling customers, right, that you need to get back to doing what you were doing, traveling, there. So can I throw this open to Peter? Can you come in? How can you get the message to people travel after the virus is over? Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, we don't know.
We don't know, and I think it's going to be a huge challenge. I overheard one of your earlier, I think it was Jed actually, before the conference really started. And I've had similar conversations with a number of people around the world. I'm of the view that what's going to happen is that travel will then only start from a very local base. People are going to be very reluctant to travel because still going to have a fear of contagion of some kind or another. And you've also got to bear in mind, I think, that the way that the pandemic is actually moving, there are parts of the world which as yet haven't been affected in the same way. So we're going to see a gradual evolvement, if you like, of the way that both the pandemic moves and then ultimately how people will then start to reuse our services. And I think that travel is going to be later down the line. And the first thing that will happen is it will come through small, medium enterprises, probably in a local environment, in a local area where people will want to go and socialize, because we are still social animals. So we will want to find a way of socializing, but it will be localized. The only way you're going to, and I'm not confident that you're going to get business travelers in the same way as you had in the past, is actually by instilling a sense of confidence in all of the aspects of the journey. And it's got to be every part of that journey, not just one part of the journey. It's the destination, it's obviously the departure, it's everything within that journey. People have got to feel safe about that journey. And they've got to have confidence that that journey, in its totality. I suspect that we're quite a long way away from that. And I suspect that we're going to find a lot of long-haul airlines are going to have quite a few planes sitting around doing very little for quite a long time.
Yeah, it's sad, but that's true. Okay. Yeah. Again, I can see your hand up. Would like to add something?
Just to add a point on that, in terms of the airlines, I absolutely agree with Peter. Look, we're going to see stacks of airlines going bust. That's an absolute reality. I've been working in the aviation industry for the past 15 years. I can tell you, as near as damn as a guarantee, the airline going to be the same number of airlines going. We need to move on and accept the travel industry as we know it, international travel wise, has changed irrevocably. Never going to be the same. Or somebody was saying about how to get those business travels back because they're going to be getting used to Zoom during months of lockdown. In fact, prepare for that, and you need to prepare for it. You don't think going to go back to normal, a new normal, and it's up to us to devise what that new normal is going to look like. But you need to, the sooner we all accept that the travel industry and tourism industry and hospitality industry as we know it will not be the same again. We need to accept that.
Right. So on
that note, hello, Brian.
Yes, Rohit, is that you?
Yeah, no, this is Mohan Kumar. I've been waiting for patiently. I don't know, something the other wrong technical glitch, but okay, I'm not getting a chance to be either invited or getting a opportunity to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't see on the screen, Mr. Mohan Kumar. I'm sorry. However, okay, please forgive us for not inviting you. Would you like to share your thoughts on what can be done? Yeah. Okay, you know what we are facing. Okay, your points, your thoughts.
Yeah, see, let me just start with I've been listening to this thing. Let me start at a macro level. At a macro level, I'm pretty optimistic in terms of actually the entire revival of the tourism and leisure industry, because essentially, fundamentally, people are mobile. They want to be they're going to travel. They're not going to be static. So that's an inherent urge. Therefore, in that sense, there's a lot of optimism. It's a matter of how the industry, the global leisure, travel, tourism, hospitality industry kind of adapts or adopts itself into the new reality. And the new reality is actually going to be a lot of, each country's, each geography, each kind of get its outbound tourists, their own citizens to say for 1 year, there probably could be a mandate, there could be some kind of an appeal to internally do domestic tourism. For instance, the US or India or China, they're going to say, listen, let there be internal revenue generation for the domestic players. Therefore, there is going to be a huge nationalistic approach towards tourism and travel. That's for sure. In any case, India, for instance, where I'm based out in Bangalore, there's, we are dependent on about 80% of our tourism from within the domestic market. And the 20%, whatever's happening is obviously not going to happen for the next 1 year. Probably the same thing is going to happen for Europe, and it's the same thing going to happen to US. So that's going to be a new reality in terms of a macro tourism. The second aspect is, see, that let's also distinguish between business tourism and holiday and leisure tourism. Business tourism is obviously going to happen because that's the way the world exists. Economic activity has to go on. Therefore, that will have absolutely no borders in terms of where to travel, who to travel. There is going to be a huge investment drive into Asia, especially with the kind of realities that are facing Europe. There's going to be a lot of, so therefore, there's going to be a lot of renewed business travel to all the cities in Asia. The third point that I want to say is that, see, the customer, as someone mentioned, I think Bhaskar mentioned about the central, out of the 9 stakeholders of the travel and tourism and hotel industry, the most important is the customer. He or she is going to decide how the entire industry is going to survive, function in future. So, and that we are talking about nearly the Gen X and Gen Y. They are going to dominate the customer space. So therefore, it's all going to be totally technological. So a whole lot of, see, they're going, number one, they're going to be extremely value driven. They're going to be extremely price conscious. Therefore, it's going to be all about technology. How much labor intensive this industry is going to be hugely technology driven. So, so the market is going to drive the industry players to completely transform itself into technology.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mohan. On this note of optimism, I think you mentioned you're very optimistic that the industry will bounce back. We do hope your optimism translates into practical reality for all the businesses that are there. Okay, we haven't had, we are now at 4 o'clock, friends. I've been monitoring the time. Is there anyone else who would like to, who has not shared? I can see Andrea, I can see Francesca. If you would like to share your thoughts before we, Sarvanan, if you'd like to share any thoughts that we discussed in the last hour, very briefly before, I would like everyone to have a chance at saying, giving us their piece. Would you like to, Sarvanan?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, all.
Good evening. Yeah, any thoughts that you'd like to share that you've listened to across?
It's not a thoughts, it's that what we are planning to do.
All right.
It's what we are, as a company, what we are trying to do. It's a major reset for entire hospitality services. So we are actually, like what Mr. Matthew told, we are redefining the entire standards and the services. So we are not going to go back, sit back in the hotels. We are going to take the hotels to the home, to the catering or all the cafeterias near the business parks. A lot of initiatives we have been taking because we are riding on somebody else's money, all of us who runs hotels. So there should be some meaningful contribution from professionals at this time. So we're going to redefine our services. We're going to move out of the hotel and we are going to reach people in their businesses and to cater to their hospitality needs in their office premises. That's something which we are taking. And plus, regarding the staffing, I have 2 options. One is in the hotels, we are combining a couple of departments where it will be a multi-skilling. And I will also suggest it can be applied in the education institutions where you can define a pattern of subjects, what you have been having for a long time. I think for the last 20 years, we are not changed except revenue management. Might be we can start combining accommodation into one and food and beverage service and production into one. And we are trying to bring in facilities into one. Previously, we used to have an housekeeping engineering separately. Now we are trying to bring in facilities. Plus, we are also planning to work in India. I don't know, this will be the first time, at least at ITC hotels, we are looking at bringing in pay per hour. So that's one is going to be permanent. Another one is going to be the temporary one, which we will go to the pay per hour is what we are thinking. And we are also looking at sleep-only rooms where the rooms are ready. They just pay, come in, they sleep and they go off. There are no other services looked upon.
Okay, interesting, very interesting.
Looking at it, yeah.
Good. Thanks very much, Sarvana, and very interesting points you brought up. Francesca, would you like to comment? Anything that you'd like to say that will send a message
Brian.
to the industry.
Brian, hi. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Sorry, Andrea.
Hi. Francesca and I, we work in ALMA, the International School of Italian Cuisine in Italy. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you to AIMS. We have this strong collaboration with AIMS. It was very interesting to follow the discussion, and of course, nobody knows how the new scenario will be exactly. We only have this way to approach the reality that is making model, but probably this time we need something more than a model, because we need to create new form of life. A school of cuisine like our, where many students are coming from around the world learning Italian cuisine, and students are traveling, it needs a lot of help from technology, of course, but also I was thinking that it will be very easier to send the teacher than the students, so send a single person than a group of students, and this is a new scenario we need to understand with our partner school. And the real challenge, just to say one last thing, the real challenge is the people contact between people. This less contact will be the new horizon. So to have contact with other people, it will represent a luxury in the future. So the new luxury experience, it will be sitting at a table, having fun with other people, without mask, without protection. So I am sure that the airlines, hospitality, all the industry involved in this, they will do everything to allow person to travel, whatever it takes, because people need to move for tourism, for business, and we will enter a new way to move, but we still we will find the chance to move, and also to live the hospitality experience, because now it becomes more and more important and less common to travel, to spend 1 week or one night with friends. So I don't know. We are thinking together with our partner school how to change, and I'm very happy to be part of this discussion this morning, because we need to exchange and share opinion, ideas on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrea. So guys, none of us have been through a thing like this before, because it's health. So Jed also talked to us in the beginning about the new normal. So what we have been doing over the last hour or so is just brainstorming, looking at thoughts of what could be the new normal, and where we can make those changes, influence the stakeholders that we have influence over. And there are many thoughts that came out. It's a discussion. Some may be accepted, some may be put into use, some may be blended with other thoughts and ideas. But on this note, I'd like to end our discussion, because we are over time for 10, and wishing you all the best for the new normal. Okay, and may we be resilient, may we adapt, maybe be the harbingers of change that could happen. And we wish you all the best in your roles, and thank you very much for being present at the AIMS School of Hospitality and Culinary Institute's session. It's been a pleasure me to be your moderator. I've learned a fair amount of things from people over here. I wish you all the best. I would like to hand over to Dr. Kurian. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Kurian.
Thank you, Mr. Brian. Thank you for moderating this wonderful discussion. And hope it was very fruitful and brainstorming discussion that we had. All of us have participated with a lot of ideas and contributions. Now, thank everyone for participating in this fun discussions. I request Dr. Priyanandan Reddy sir to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Kurian. I thank everyone for their wonderful contribution and a very, I would say, some innovative suggestions as well. Thanks to our partner school, Alma, for taking the time out and being present here. Mr. Brian, thank you very much for anchoring the entire show. And also thank you to all the participants once again. So I think we will bring out a recorded content of this conversation and share it with you all. And also we'll try and maybe deliberate further and come out with a report on this discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good.